But it is the Libertarian Lunch right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I asked you this right before we went on air, but I'll do it again for the edification and amusement of the listening audience. How much of that game did you watch last night there, Bell?
0.
No, none of the game.
No.
You did keep up, though.
Oh, yeah. I really wanted the Chiefs to win because I wanted Mac to be happy. Because, see, I'm not a complete selfish bastard. I do want other people to enjoy their lives also. And I realized that most of the time when I watch the Super Bowl, the team I root for loses. And I had already expressed that I wanted them to win, so I figured I would at least try to give them a fighting chance by not watching.
Mm-hmm.
But I did keep up with it. I was constantly Googling to see what the score was.
You were Googling yourself during the Super Bowl? I mean, well, you were Googling others. You were Googling. So did you mention did you see the Travis Kelce screaming and yelling and pushing on his coach?
I saw that on Twitter, which I thought that was
an odd look.
It was obviously driven by passion, but at some point your passion is turning you into an ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's a step too far. I know that you're not going to because he's one of the best players on your team, but I would have loved to have seen Andy Reid sit his ass down for a couple of minutes. At least, for enough time for us to recognize that he was doing that because of that.
It was bad enough that he screamed in his face like that, but he almost knocked him over.
Yeah,
too.
He didn't see him coming, and he pushed him down, or he kind of pushed him over, or he didn't anticipate what was coming. It was one of the reasons that I eventually found myself rooting against the Chiefs. I went into it kind of neutral, not knowing where my emotions would lead me. And then
Which in and of itself just shows you're a horrible person for not supporting our own McMorey.
Yeah, I support him in a lot of different ways. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I supported him by giving him cheese dip and delicious crackers.
That was actually Erica.
Well, I understand. I paid for them. Somewhat, somehow. I participated somehow. Wendy says Bell K's cats wanted to change the channel. That's probably true. And then 5284 starts the show off the right way. This is exactly where I wanted to start. Is Matt defending that effing NFL that mocked Jesus Christ? I'm not making that sentence up. That sentence just happened. This person is so upset that at the suggestion that the NFL mocked Jesus, that they're using the F-bomb to express how upset they are about the mocking of Jesus.
I mean, if you're going to put that on somebody, that probably should be CBS you put that on, not the NFL.
The NFL has nothing, absolutely zero to do. There's a lot of reasons to hate the NFL, and I don't begrudge any of you any of them, but one of the reasons to hate the NFL is not the he gets us ad, which I actually looked up. I'm trying to figure out where these people are getting their money, and it's very difficult to do. Now, I don't have an opinion about the ad. I don't care
how much
about
were they?
the ad.
$7 million a pop?
Yeah, something along those lines. For a 30-second one, so I think that was a minute ad. I might be mistaken. So 30 seconds, $7 million a minute, one would presume would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 million. The He Gets Us is an ad that's causing a lot of controversy. I don't get my religious beliefs from a advertisement during the Super Bowl, and I certainly hope you don't either. I also don't question the motivations of individuals that I don't know who these individuals are, and I certainly hope you don't either. It seems that there's a lot of that going on. But here's the upshot. There have been 58 of these now. One of my favorite activities is to watch how many people get outraged over everything about the Super Bowl. And every year, well in excess of 100 million people watch the Super Bowl. A lot of you apparently watch the Super Bowl just to get pissed off about it. And I cannot understand why you do that. I do not get it. 4540, I'll answer your question in just a moment. 4540 wants to know, how did they mock Jesus? I'll explain the controversy I'm not in it. My name's Bennett. I'm not in it. I'm not getting in it. I don't want to get into a I'm not prepared to get into a theological or religious discussion about what is appropriate in terms of washing feet versus not washing feet. Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. He didn't wash everybody's feet. It seems to me, not that I care that much about it, but it seems to me that in this group's effort to get more people interested in faith and Jesus Christ, they're kind of sanitizing a lot of what went down in the Bible. to the point that it feels like they're trying to make Jesus cool and hip and modern. And in as much as he's cool and hip and modern, it's cool if you break all of these rules. It's cool if you sin. It's all good. Jesus will love you anyway. Hey, I'm not perfect, just forgiven. That kind of attitude. Like the phrase "not perfect, just forgiven" is not a free pass. There was a quote unquote youth pastor in Birmingham, Alabama, that I went after, Heidi Campbell style. We'll call it. I went after him Heidi Campbell style over his so-called church. Eventually, this guy was arrested for a number of crimes, including impersonating a police officer. And so he got his just worldly comeuppance. But he loved the phrase "not perfect, just forgiven." And he used it. When he was arrested for impersonating a police officer, that's what he said. "Not perfect, just forgiven." And I'm like, are you using this like a get-out-of-jail-free card? Is this a hall pass for you? I don't think that means what you think it means, that you get to sin all you want to sin. You get to do whatever you want to do. And then when people call you out on it, you go, "Hey, not perfect, just forgiven." Well, I don't know that the laws of the state of Alabama or the laws of the state of Tennessee apply here when it comes to forgiveness when you are found to be in violation of the law. Anyway, I feel like they're watering down the "he gets us" people are watering down the teachings of Jesus Christ and only focusing on the kindness and the love and not focusing on, there's some rules that you are expected to abide by with regard to the Christian faith. Anyway, didn't mean to get into all of that. So it's a story that I've loved telling. This is what I will say about all of this. I mean, there's far more important things to discuss on the show today, and we will. However, I am fascinated, and I'm picking on Chris a little bit, so I admit that. And I love Chris Hand. I love my teammates, all of my teammates, from Dan Mandis to Hand to Brian Wilson and all of the rest of the folks, everybody that makes this radio station what it is. It is that family atmosphere that I think makes the radio station special. And it's the different characters and our different ways of thinking and our different lifestyles and all of those things that I think you put all of that into the mix, and it makes a great stew, if you will. So I love him. But I thought of this while I was listening to Chris, because Chris watched the Super Bowl and hated everything about it. He hates the NFL. He hates the commercials. He hates the halftime show. And it reminded me of a story that I've told many times on the air. And that's the story of a guy's walking down the street, and he looks down an alleyway as he's walking down the street. There's a couple of buildings, brick buildings on the alleyway, and there's dumpsters and whatnot. The type that we have seen many times in downtown Nashville. And he sees this little kid, looks to be about, 9 or 10 years old, this little kid. And this little kid is facing one of the walls in the alleyway and just is hitting his head against the wall, Oh, his head's got like blood on it. He's just hit. And the guy's like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here?" And the guy runs over there and he grabs the kid and he turns the kid around. And he says, "Little kid, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And the kid says, "Because it feels so good when I stop." If you hate it so much, why are you watching it? Do you not know what you're going to get by now? Just turn it off. And oh, by the way, for you lovers of nostalgia, your parents had problems with the crap that was going on when you were a kid too. And their parents had problems with the crap that was going on when they were kids too. Now, I'm not saying the world's not accelerating and driving itself toward that hell in a handbasket that we've talked about these many years. I get that. I understand that the world seems to be a lot different than it was even 5 years ago. But the Super Bowl really doesn't seem to have changed. there's football and there's commercials and there's a halftime show that I've never cared about. I am as lost as can be when it comes to analyzing halftime shows. Oh, this halftime show was awful. That halftime show was great. That halftime show was awesome. That halftime show really brought the heat. That halftime show was ridiculous and it was lewd. And I think it's because I've never been a fan of watching live musical performance on television anyway. I think it loses so much. If you want to watch live musical performance, go and watch it actually live in person and put your phone down when you do it. That said, the halftime show for me, for Matt Murphy, has always been an opportunity to go to the bathroom because you don't get to do that during the commercials, during the Super Bowl, because some of the commercials are pretty good, and to restock on whatever food you happen to be eating at your Super Bowl buffet. So I have no idea. The wife tells me that it was pretty good. Did I see some of it? Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I saw some of it. I don't hate it, and I don't hate on it, and I don't think anything of it either. It is one of those rare occurrences, and for those of you who have known me for some time now, you know this is a rare occurrence. One of those rare occurrences where I don't really give a rip about the halftime show. I'm not hating on it. I'm not loving on it. I'm completely, if it did not exist, it would be fine with me. The fact that it does exist is fine with me. I'm just amazed at the number of people that sit around waiting to hate on everything about the Super Bowl. Then why in the hell are you watching to begin with? .0036, halftime show should have been a Toby Keith tribute. That would have been the best one ever. See, and this is what the haters would have done with it. And 0036, I love Toby Keith, one of my favorites. And we lost a great one way too soon at the age of 62. But I promise you, there would have been plenty of people hating on that too. Oh, that guy glorified drinking with the red Solo cup. That guy glorified cheating with I ain't as good as I once was.
They're bringing me down with this dead guy tribute.
Right. I mean, there's always something. So, all of that to say, if you made me, I would tell you this. I thought, if you're a fan of football and you were not a fan of that game, I don't know what to tell you. I really was unaffiliated in terms of my allegiance. And what I do is, if I'm unaffiliated, if I don't really care one way or the other, and I understand that Mac Morey's a big fan of the Chiefs, and I want Mac to be happy and all of those things, but I go into the game, and I used to try to figure out who I was rooting for before the game happened, and I realized that was a fool's errand. You get to the game, and you let the game wash over you, and then natural allegiances will come about. At least for me, that's how I do it. So I was already kind of a fan of Andy Reid, so I was leaning that way, but then the Travis Kelce thing happened. I'm like, what a jerk. That guy should be sat down. And I knew that Brock Purdy was a Christian man, and I knew how much the powers that be on the networks would really, really hate a speech by Brock Purdy where he thanked first and foremost Jesus Christ. So I liked that idea. And so I kind of led myself down. But it was a great game. I mean, overtime, come on. What are you talking about? Overtime in a Super Bowl?
Usually Super Bowls are just lopsided, boring. I mean, this was a true battle between those teams.
No, it was a heavyweight battle that wasn't decided till the final play. That's great stuff. As far as the commercials go, there were some good ones. I think they largely stayed out of any sort of I mean, I guess there was one Bud Light commercial that fell a little flat. The Budweiser commercial harkened back to the Clydesdales. That was pretty good. If I had to rank them, this is my ranking. Top 5 Matt Murphy commercials. Arnold Schwarzenegger State Farm commercial I thought was tip-top. You like a good neighbor. Arnold, it's neighbor. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, neighbor. It's neighbor. Get me out of this chopper. Very funny. Number 2, Pluto TV couch potatoes. I don't know what it was about that. I thought the concept was great. Pluto TV grows couch potatoes, Bell, in big fields, and there's people dressed up like. Did you see this commercial?
No, I did not.
There's people. You need to look it up. I think it's funny. There's people dressed like big potatoes sitting on couches in these huge fields with all these TVs in front of them.
Okay.
And the guy's talking about when we first started this couch potato farm, my daddy had to use a radio. Right? So it's like how far the advancement in growing couch potatoes has gone. It's very, very funny.
You have to look that up.
I thought the Dunkin' Donuts was fine. I mean, Ben Affleck and J-Lo and Matt Damon. That's number 3 on my list. I am a huge fan of Christopher Walken. So anything featuring Christopher Walken, I'm already all in. And so the BMW commercial where everybody has an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation and everybody has a Christopher Walken impersonation. And this was a riff on the fact that Christopher Walken, it's Christopher Walken, Walken Snacks. Yeah, I'm getting into my BMW, driving. There's me doing my Christopher Walken impersonation, as bad as it might be. And then the Uber Eats. Uber Eats was pretty funny. Jelly Roll was in Uber Eats, and it was fun.
That was brilliant. I'm a huge Friends fan, and I love seeing the Schwimmer and Aniston working together again. But the Jelly Roll part of that spot was just beyond hilarious.
It was good. It was good stuff. Yeah, I mean, no, somebody doodled on my face. It's not coming off. It's not coming off. That's funny. Oh, but my favorite, by far, my favorite part of the night was social media explaining to me that all of this was rigged by Taylor Swift. Or someone. That it was some sort of, I don't know who rigged it. I can't figure it out. 1385 says, I went to bed at halftime. I told my wife the exact ending. Last second TD by the Chiefs. It's rigged. And 1385, I'm willing to listen. Just tell me who's rigging it. Who's doing the rigging? That's all I want to know. And I want to thank all of you for your appreciation of my Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. Get to the job. Do it. Not a tumor. That wasn't supposed to be.
They were all bad.
Yes, but they were all very bad.